What's going on, everyone? In this video, I'll be talking about the ultimate SAT reading guide, so that way you guys get the score you want. So the SAT reading is the hardest SAT section, right? Like, let's be honest, I suck at it. If you're watching this, you might suck at it, and a lot of students, I would say like 80% of SAT students suck at the reading section and end up getting a higher math score than reading score for a variety of reasons, right? Like the SAT math section is just the easier section. Everything is more cut dry. There's not opinions, there's not judgments. If the answer is 2, the answer is 2. It's not like if the answer 2 is the one a better answer. That's just not a thing, right, with math. With SAT reading, things get hard, things get tricky. It's a lot about interpretation, it's a lot about whether you can understand the context of what you're reading, right? So to make sure you guys get the SAT reading score that you want, so let's say above a 700 for most students, let's discuss 5 key tips that will help you ace the SAT reading section for this upcoming SAT August exam or SAT September exam or any SAT that you sit down and take in the near future. So the first main tip is to annotate away. Yes, guys, your reading teachers are right. Annotations matter, okay? Personally, I hate annotating, right, text when I was in reading class, but on the SAT, it helps a lot. Because you see, when you're annotating, you're actively paying attention to what you're reading. Like when you underline a sentence, you actually read that sentence. You actually understood what that sentence was saying. And you're actually paying attention. Your brain isn't wandering off somewhere else while your eyes are reading the sentence, right? You're actually focused. And by annotating, you can sum up long like phrases, long paragraphs. You can sum up long sections of reading. Because let's say one of the questions is in paragraph 1, what was the author talking about, right? You do not want to read the entire paragraph 1. What paragraph 1 is like this long, right? You want to read that. If you do, you're gonna end up wasting your time. And you might be like, well, I'm just not gonna read the whole thing, I'll just skim. Well, you're still rereading, right? If you're skimming, you're not reading everything, but you're still rereading, and you're also reading way faster, so you can miss out on a couple of details that you would not have missed out had you annotated the first time you read the passage, read the paragraph. Because when you annotate, you can just like write a couple, maybe like 2 or 3 sentences about what that paragraph was about. Maybe like even a sentence. So that way you already know what that paragraph was talking about, and that way your brain is like mentally blocking the text. Like, okay, paragraph 1 was about dolphins. Paragraph 2 was about the dolphins' impact on the environment. Paragraph 3 was about how dolphins are not being endangered. And paragraph 4 was how humans can do certain things to protect dolphins, right? So by writing those sentences in those margins on the SAT reading exam, your brain is blocking the text and it's helping you understand and comprehend the text more without you even knowing it. And by doing that, you're literally helping yourself get such a high SAT reading score, because that trick, like this annotate away trick, single-handedly, I think, helped my reading score improve at least like 80 points. And I was at like a, what, 610, 620 when I first started. So 80 points is already like near the 700 range. And you know, that's just a very good range to be in. And then with the upcoming tricks, I was able to get a 740. The next SAT trick, this is a trick that I've talked about before, but it is one of the best tricks ever, and that's to read the questions first. Now, listen guys, the SAT reading exam is an exam, okay? This is not your time to read. If you're a writer or you love reading books, it's not your time to read. It's an exam. It's about your performance, right? You're not reading for leisure. You're reading simply for one go. And I want you guys to remember this always. The SAT reading exam, you're reading the text for one go, and that is to answer all the questions correctly, okay? You don't care about anything else in this text. Let's say you're passionate about it and you actually like it, good for you. By the end of the day, we have one goal, and that's to get all the questions for this reading correct. And the best way to do that is to read the questions first, because that way you actually know what you need to answer, right, ahead of time. And by doing this, when you actually read the text, you already have the questions in mind. And if you can't, obviously you probably can't remember every single question. So just write 2 or 3 questions and like the actual text, so that way you can refer back to them as you read the text. And by doing that, you're actively looking for the answer for these questions while you're reading. So your brain will be attentive to the text, right? You will actually be paying attention, understanding the text, and trying to find the answers for your questions, which, like I said, will help you comprehend the text better because you're paying more attention. That's like a nice cycle to be in that will help you ultimately comprehend the text. And that's all the SAT reading exam, really is about, is SAT reading comprehension. So if you can comprehend, you're looking at a 700 plus on the SAT reading exam. So please read the questions first. And another big thing with that is the vocab questions. Like in line 71, what does the word Ritesh mean? That's my name. Then you go line 71, you underline that word. So when you first read the text, right, you can answer that question as you go. Because the whole goal with SAT reading and being faster when it comes to completing it is to minimize the amount of time to go back and reread text, because the more you reread text, the more you're reading the same stuff over again. You're wasting more and more time, and then you end up pressed for time on your later passages, and then you end up not finishing the exam, and then you end up with like a 300 score and you cry and beg for like another exam. So that's why please read the questions first, because you don't want to end up begging for yourself to take the ST again, because trust me, you don't want to take a 3-hour exam again, even though you should at least take it twice. Next tip, and this tip is actually a myth that I want to debunk. That is, do not waste your time with those big SAT vocab word books that are like 2,500 vocab words that you should know for the ST exam. God, no one cares. Honestly, like before, when ST was out of 2,400, at that time, vocab questions were more prevalent and they actually mattered more. Understanding what a word means was so much more important. But now, like, it really doesn't matter, right? When I took SAT, like, at that time and even now, vocab words do not matter. It does not matter, like, if you know 1 million words or 5,000 words. The SAT vocab words that you will face are pretty common words. Like, they're not like words you use in your everyday language unless you're some sort of scholar, but they're words that you will hear that you've probably seen multiple times, right? And you should be able to read the context that word is in and deduce the meaning of that word. Now, let's say you have no idea what that word means and you've never seen it before. Most likely, you're gonna know at least 3 of the 4 answer choices, right, that they give you for like this word most nearly means this word. Make sure that those 3 answer choices are not the answer. If none of those are the answer, then the 4th word is obviously the answer. But if even one of those 3 words could be the answer in your head and it makes sense, then that's probably the answer, right? You want to trust your gut with those questions. But like I said, you waste time studying those big vocab word books for the SAT, because it's just not important, right? I'd rather you spend your time with the SAT math section and the SAT reading section, because those are the sections that really matter. And the vocab will help you maybe get like 2 or 3 questions more correct on the SAT reading section, but you should be able to get them correct regardless by studying context of the passage, right? So, and if, like I said, guys, I know this is a SAT reading video, but if you want to really hone your SAT math skills and understand that section within 6 hours only, be sure to check out my SAT math course, link in the description below. Use the code for a discount. Now, my last and final tip, and I've mentioned this over and over again about your brain focused on the text and you're actually paying attention to the text, because so many times, and this is what my biggest problem when I took the PSAT and all those SAT reading practice exams, was that even books in general, or reading class in general, that's why I hated reading, was when I read and I flipped the page, I would literally forget what I just read. It's like I had a memory of a goldfish, or literally every time you circle around the water, you forget what just happened. I think I have like a 7-second memory. That's literally how I felt. But sometimes I'll be reading and I'll be thinking something totally different. And then when I finish reading, I'm like, oh shoot, what did I just read? Yeah, you don't want to do that on the SAT reading exam, because if you do, you not only waste so much time, but you're gonna have to freaking spend time reading the same thing over again, which you know already is gonna kill your score, because you can't afford that, right? You've been talking about ways to limit rereading, and you're telling me you read the entire passage without paying attention, without drawing connections, without annotating, and now your brain wandered away and you forgot everything you just read and have no recollection of what you just read. Now that is literally the ultimate reread. You have to read the entire passage over again, which sucks, right? So please focus, pay attention. And the best way to pay attention is by asking yourself questions, by reading the questions first, right? So that way you're actually looking for your answers as you're reading, so you're paying attention. By annotating, underlining, writing notes in the margins, so that way your brain is focused on the text and you're actually caring about what you're reading. Now, even if you don't care about the actual topic of the text, which a lot of times, especially with the history passages, you probably don't really care at all about what Abe Lincoln did back then. But you want to trick your brain into actually caring, and the best way to do that is actually asking yourself questions, annotating, and just tricking yourself, honestly. And then you find yourself being able to draw a bunch of connections as you read, and everything will become much more easier. The SAT reading section will become a really easy section for you. Then you will ace it and you'll get a high SAT reading score, and then you're gonna get into the college of your dreams. Then you're gonna be super happy. So let's make sure you're happy. Be sure to follow these tips. Thank you all for watching. Peace.